Alright, so I just finished watching Fear X, and this is gonna be a difficult movie to review. I was kind of just left with an overall state of what the heck was that? Just like when I finished watching one of the director's other films, The Neon Demon, and I had the same reaction to this film as to that, though I prefer that film over this one, which is I don't know what I just witnessed. That was great. Once again, this director, like I said, he basically just does art house films. Which, for those who don't know, art house films are is one of the most confusing genres of films, but one of the most utterly fascinating. Only like 1 out of 3 people like these types of films, and that's because they're very like vague on a storytelling standpoint and like on a story standpoint, and it's more just about atmosphere, and this one in particular is more about atmosphere and tension. And while this one is definitely my least favorite of the director's work, with my favorite being Drive, and then Only God Forgives, and then Neon Demon, and then this, those are the only 4 I've seen. But this one was still pretty good. It's really slow. It's kind of like a slow burn, and it's a really hard movie to describe. There's not much of a storytelling aspect to it, like I said. It's very low on story and more just like psychological. And I found it really interesting. And just to warn you going in, it's pretty ambiguous, which is kind of what I expected, having seen Only God Forgives, and that it feels a lot like that in the lack of storytelling, which is totally fine. It's not as visually distinct as the director's other films. It's not as pretty, though it's still a pretty film by most standards, which I think is always funny about his movies, because since he's colorblind, it's ironic that he has like some of the best looking films I've ever seen. It's just a really interesting movie. And if you're up for something really different and really strange, but at the same time fascinating, I definitely recommend this one. I really liked it. What am I gonna say? Oh yeah, there are a couple of moments that were like really predictable, but at the same time, there were an equal amount of perplexing moments that were just very strange and fascinating at the same time. I'm using that word a lot, aren't I? Strange, fascinating. I guess it's just the best way to describe this movie. It's difficult to explain, but yeah, it's so weird. It's interesting seeing like the director work on something that's like more tame, I guess you could say, but it's so just like disturbing and tense and interesting. There was something else I was gonna say. It's hard to make sense out of a lot of it, but the cinematography was interesting. It reminded me of a Yorgos film, and I hadn't seen much from David Lynch, but felt very much like that in vibes. Though I couldn't really get into Twin Peaks, I still thought it was good what I've seen of it, and I've seen a little bit of the opening of Mulholland Drive, but that's all I've seen from David Lynch, and it just reminds me a lot of a David Lynch film. It's weird. It takes like the basic story of Memento and then puts it into a detective film, but at the same time in the genre of art house, though it's not as much art house as Only God Forgives and Neon Demon, though it's very close. It's definitely more art house than his arguably best film, Drive. But yeah, I thought it was really good, but still my least favorite out of the director's work. But that being said, this director is one of the most underrated of just a lot of modern directors. I just find him really fascinating and underrated. And I'm surprised that not very many people talk about him. And this is kind of one of those hidden gems, in my opinion. I mean, I totally get it. This movie is definitely not for everyone, like I said towards the beginning. But for people that like art house films, like especially for people that liked Only God Forgives, this is a lot like that, just drained of all color and more psychological and messed up weirdly, despite being his only film with the PG-13 rating. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the review. I do not know what the next one is gonna be, but I'll see you guys later. Bye bye.